Stay tuned to PBS 39 as we explore the arts on an all-new episode of Focus. We travel to Kutztown and meet an Allentown-based art historian searching high and low for her next fabulous find. Then we introduce you to a retired steel worker turned videographer whose work captures the history of Bethlehem steel. We'll share these stories and remember an arts patron with a new series of awards in her honor. Coming up right now on Focus. Focus is for our community.
Focus showcases the people,
The places and the issues that matter to you.
Focus on what matters.
You never know what you're going to see when you tune into Focus.
Support for Focus is provided by Univest, Banking, Insurance, Investments, Fellowship Community, Continuing Care with Spirit, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this Focus on the Arts. I'm Laura McHugh. We begin our show with a treasure hunt. For one local art historian, there's no map to follow. As Focus reporter Brittany Garzillo found out, Dr. Christine Oaklander is guided by pure instinct, developed over a career spent cultivating an eye for valuable, often forgotten works of art. Brittany?
Laura, some say art is in the eye of the beholder. In the trained eyes of Dr. Christine Oaklander, art can go from discarded to discovered. This Allentown-based art historian usually has no idea what she's looking for, but as we found out, she knows it when she sees it.
In a pile of worn-out boxes that some may consider trash,
It's got a varnish on it that would clean up nicely.
Dr. Christine Oaklander searches for treasure.
What do I see? There's treasure to be found here.
Just steps into the Renningers Farmers Market and Antique Center located in Kutztown.
Good morning.
And Dr. Oaklander is on the hunt for her next antique acquisition.
I bought my first piece at an auction when I want to say 12 or 14.
Amidst the crowds and clutter, Dr. Oaklander keeps her eye out for something special.
I have a superb eye for finding something, like walking into a shop and there's only one or two good things and thousands of things that aren't good, and I can find those things.
A skill she's honed for more than 30 years as an art historian and private consultant.
For me, reading these documents, which some people may think, oh, what a bore, they're dusty, they're creased, it's hard to read, I get an incredible excitement.
With a PhD in American art history, Dr. Oaklander specializes in 19th and early 20th century American painting and sculpture.
Immediately when I saw this, I knew it was an American scene. I've had incredible adventures with people I've met, stuff I've found.
Do you ever think you'll find something as valuable as that estate of Henry Grant Plum's?
Well, there's valuable and there's fascinating, Brittany. So I keep hoping I'm kind of ratcheting it up, I think, if you will.
If you're wondering why the name Henry Grant Plum doesn't ring a bell, you're not alone.
I had never heard of Henry Grant Plum.
Until April of 2014, when she came across his work at the Allentown Paper Show.
I knew that I had found something very important, the likes of which I had never found before.
Stashed underneath an exhibitor's table were boxes filled with hundreds of handwritten letters from the 19th century artist, as well as his palette that still remains decorated with color, a battered box filled with brushes and oil and watercolor paints, his studio sign, sketchbooks filled with drawings, and original works of art.
The letters are heavily illustrated. This one is dated April 12, 1875. He talks about seeing Lincoln's funeral procession in New York. I have those letters. That's living history. It's a remarkable rediscovery. And I am on this magic carpet ride to bring him back to life.
According to Dr. Oaklander, Plum was born in 1847 in Sherborn, New York. He established a successful career in New York City as a painter, printmaker, and teacher at Cooper Union College. He died in 1930.
Henry was brilliant and funny and kind and just a unique character. He did portraits, he did landscapes, he did a number of watercolors, drawings, and oils of mice and then of cats. And there are drawings in the letters that relate to this painting, but this is an oil painting in the original period frame.
With a donation from her parents, Dr. Oaklander purchased Plum's estate for $28,000. With her archival and restoration work, she currently values it at about $200,000.
I don't think learning something needs to be boring. And so what I try and do with the material I have is to share what I have.
Since rediscovering Plum, Dr. Oaklander has donated some of the archival materials and conducted lectures on his story.
I want people to know about him more. I want them to enjoy this uniquely talented, humorous, funny man. I want people to laugh when they see the little print of the mouse on the pillow trying to pick up the biscuit from the little baby that's asleep, because this is fun art. Let's have fun, let's laugh, let's smile.
The way Dr. Oaklander does when admiring her fabulous finds. For Focus, I'm Brittany Garzillo, reporting.
Dr. Oaklander has curated art for galleries throughout the Lehigh Valley, including the Allentown Art Museum, Lehigh Valley Health Network, and the global pipe coupling manufacturer Victaulic, headquartered in Forks Township. Coming in 2017, you can see more of our art discoveries on a PBS 39 original series called Fabulous Finds with Dr. O.
Thanks so much, Brittany. We continue our focus on the arts and history in our next story as we join a photographer and videographer on the former campus of Bethlehem Steel in South Bethlehem. Focus reporter Grover Silcox joins us now to share this story. Grover?
Thanks, Laura. Bruce Ward wants people to know what it felt like to work at Bethlehem Steel. The former steelworker turned documentarian now shares his and other steelworkers' experiences in video and photographs. He works from a studio at the Banana Factory Art Center, only a block from the former plant. Here he follows his passion for telling the story of the steel to all of us who wonder what it must have been like to work there.
Bruce Ward once scaled these 20-story blast furnaces as a rigger for Bethlehem Steel. Now he aims his camera at them to capture the memories they elicit and the legacy they represent.
People come to me and say, "Can you give us a tour? Can you tell us about it?"
Bruce tells the story of the steel in 3 videos, which include a view from inside, the steel way of life, and the 28-inch mill.
In about 1981 or 82, I started carrying a pocket Instamatic camera because I knew nobody would believe me if I told them where I was and what I did. We were inside of a blast furnace. We were in the guts of the basic oxygen furnaces. We were at ingot mold. We were fixing the things that poured the hot metal into the molds.
In a view from inside, Bruce laced interviews with retired steelworkers with archival film clips and his own photos shot before the plant closed in 1997.
Every time you turned around, there was a whistle blowing or a siren going off, and that meant get out of the way.
I think the images of red-hot steel are the ones that impress me the most, because when you realize that that red-hot steel is 10 or 15 feet away, and if you were not protected, your skin would be blistering, literally.
Bruce took a video and media arts major at Northampton Community College in 1995, and then began using his skills to document life at Bethlehem Steel.
I've always been interested in photography. It started as a way to capture where I was and what I did, but soon it became kind of a family album because I always got pictures of the people I was with, and I found that that was what probably kept me at the Steel.
Working in collaboration with the Steelworkers Archives, Historic Bethlehem, and Allentown-based photographer Edward Leskin, Bruce produced The Steel Way of Life in 2013. The documentary features retired steelworkers sharing their personal stories about life at the Steel.
You had honor in being a steelworker. That was an honor title.
Everybody in my family worked at the Steel, going all the way back to my great-grandfather.
Because it was the lifeblood of this town. It built this town.
You spent a lot of time with these people, and very often you spent more time with them than you did with your own family.
Every day it was something different. Every day you come to work, you got this bus outside and take you to a job where you're going to go.
They all were the people that had what it took to get the place going and to keep it going.
Richie Check describes how he and his whole family worked at the Steel in Bruce's video.
We had our picture taking in the blast furnace area with 9 brothers working for Bethlehem Steel all at one time.
In addition to appearing in Bruce's production, Richie has appeared in numerous broadcasts about Bethlehem Steel, including documentaries by PBS 39.
You can't believe it, that there's no smoke coming out, or no burning bleeder where the gas was being burned and going up in the atmosphere.
Indeed, Richie Check is the face of Bethlehem Steel. He is a hero.
Bruce also produced a video of the 28-inch mill, a play about the steel written by retired steelworker Robert Franz and performed by Franz's son, Stan.
It's like the 28, say, on a Monday day turn in January. It's just sitting there. Ice forming on the rolls from the leaks in the cooling hoses. Steam seeping out of the engine.
Stan produced the play as a one-man show, and I did a video rendition of that.
This is Wayne. You got a young one coming down the roller line. Engineer, did you hear that? You got a short coming in the rougher. Slow it down a bit.
It is a great tribute to the guys that worked the 28-inch mill.
From his studio at the Banana Factory in South Bethlehem, Bruce is now working on another documentary about steelmaking.
That is starring Richie Check, of course, who else? And he tells the story of not only the Bethlehem Steel and his family, but he tells how we as a people began producing iron and then steel, and how it was made here in Bethlehem.
Over the years, Bruce has honed and expanded his skills as a photographer and recently displayed some of his work at an exhibit of Banana Factory studio artists.
I'm quite proud that I'm still involved with photography and that I have a space here at the Banana Factory where I can show my images.
Where he can explore his creativity and pursue his passion for sharing a life forged in steel. For Focus, I'm Grover Silcox reporting.
Thank you, Grover. The Arts Quest Foundation recently recognized 13 artists, educators, businesses, and arts patrons with the inaugural Linney Awards. The awards honor late philanthropist Marlene Linney Fowler and her legacy of supporting dozens of local youth, community, and arts organizations through her volunteerism and donations. The Linney Awards celebrate those who continue Fowler's mission of promoting and supporting the arts. We're now joined by Arts Quest Foundation's Executive Director Jeff Parks and the Linney Award-winning Visual Artist of the Year, Vicky Da Silva. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Jeff, of course you knew Linney very well. Would you share a little bit about her and her impact on our community?
Linney Fowler was, first of all, a mother, a philanthropist, an artist, and someone who really cared deeply about humanity and practiced that here in this community. She became active in the community right about the mid-90s after her 4 children had all grown up and moved out of the home. And I got to know her about a year or two before we started the Banana Factory project. Linney became very engaged with the project because her goal was to see that all children, especially, had access to the arts. Lenny used to say, no child can fail when they're doing an art project because whatever they create is their art. She was a fantastic person. She knew what people needed and how to address that. So Lenny is primarily responsible for ArtsQuest Banana Factory campus. And after she established the campus, she also established an endowment in the then new ArtsQuest Foundation. So it was very appropriate for us to have this event in her honor as the founder not only of the Banana Factory but also of the ArtsQuest Foundation.
Lenny was an artist herself. She was passionate about it and lived it.
Well, I spoke last night about taking a trip with Lenny to Pittsburgh when we were studying what we were going to do with the Banana Factory. And Lenny and I went to the Andy Warhol Museum. And I hadn't seen this aspect of Lenny before. She actually talked about the colors and the positioning and all the things that I didn't see as a non-artist. She saw there at the Warhol Museum and in the art. So she practiced her art primarily with stained glass, but she truly was an artist, and I respect and admire that part of her. And I think that's really why we are honoring the arts and the artists here in the Lehigh Valley.
The idea for this award seems obvious. It was something that I think would have made her very, very proud. Share with us some of the award winners.
Well, first of all, we wanted to honor the people who support the arts, both in volunteerism and financially. So we honored 3 businesses, a large, medium, and a small, if you will. And that was Kincannon Miller, the accounting firm for the small business of the year, Embassy Bank for the Lehigh Valley, the medium-sized business, 100 to 200 employees, and Air Products, which has been extraordinarily generous with the arts throughout the region. And that was the most important thing about this. It was a regional award. We also honored Joe Brake for his volunteer service to organizations like Celtic Fest, the Bach Choir, and many, many others throughout the Lehigh Valley as the Lifetime Achievement Volunteer Award. For the artists, and we honored Paul Farr, who is the head of Talent Energy, for his philanthropy in the arts, which Beal Fowler, Lenny's widower, gave the presentation, and I think that was very, very meaningful to all of us. And of course, the artists were the feature, the people who were recognized as the artist. We were thrilled with having Ann Roth, who is 85 years old and has lived in near Martins Creek, in Northampton County for the last 35 years, still very engaged in doing costume work for television and film and Broadway. She is a fantastic person in the arts community. And this lady sitting to our right was honored as the Visual Artist of the Year for the Lehigh Valley, something we wanted to do annually to recognize both a performing artist and a visual artist for their stature and what they've attained. And as I said when I announced her, there was probably no artist in the Lehigh Valley who has had her work displayed in New York's Times Square and London's Trafalgar Square. Certainly deserving of recognition as a regional artist of prominence.
Vicki, what did this award mean to you?
It meant that locally I was being recognized and honored, which was fantastic for me because I live here and I've lived in Allentown for 23 years. I grew up in Allentown, I went to Kutztown, I lived in New York, and then and Europe, and eventually moved back. So to be recognized by the largest arts organization in the entire Lehigh Valley is extraordinarily wonderful for me. And it shows that because I am an artist that does have a tendency to push some buttons here and there and does work that entails sometimes activism and dissent and humor and all those things combined sometimes, they were very embracing of that and didn't shy away from any kind of controversy. I think it's very important, especially for youth, to know that they have their First Amendment rights and that that's what our country stands for. And in the arts, it's especially important for organizations to recognize and support artists who speak out.
You shared some photographs of your work with us, specifically your work that's been called light graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe it for us?
Yes, I do like a two-based type methodology of my work. I do what's called light graffiti, which I refer to as text-based work, where I go on site and write words, and then light painting photography. I use 8-foot fluorescent lamps, sometimes patterned or colored with cellophane film gels, directly onto the lamp, and I use a battery pack and a backpack, which makes me portable, and I can do it anywhere at night. So the camera's on a tripod, it's an open shutter, and it does a time exposure photograph. Nothing is done in Photoshop. It all happens live on location. And thanks also to my wonderful husband and technical director, father of our children, partner of my life, who is an electrician and makes all of my light portable and is like my technical director. So if I come up with an idea and I say, oh honey, can we do this? You know, he goes down and he makes everything happen. So it's a pretty great you know, partnership, because it gives us something outside of our marriage and our family life, you know, to have something, the arts, to work together and to enjoy together.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your work with our artist, with our audience, and congratulations on this award.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Vicki, for joining us. PBS 39 would like to recognize a young artist in our community. Here's your PBS 39 Artist of the Month.
I'm Maddie, and I'm PBS 39's Artist of the Month. I've been drawing since I can remember. I love drawing because when I'm drawing, I feel like I'm in a different place. I love to draw people and flowers especially because I think they're really pretty and you can draw them any way you want. When I'm drawing, I feel really happy because it makes me think of my great-grandmother because she loves to draw. My grandmother's a really amazing painter, and she's always really inspired me with her artwork, so I'm trying my best to be just as good as her. To be a great artist, you have to believe in yourself. Here's my drawing prepared, and it's special to me because I like the way the pastel blends with the charcoal. My best advice would be, if you make a mistake, just keep drawing and don't give up. Sometimes it can turn into something really beautiful. I'm Maddie, and I'm very happy to be the PBS 39 Artist of the Month.
Congratulations to Maddie. And Brittany, you actually had the opportunity to attend the Linny Awards.
I did. It was a beautiful, elegant event, and it truly honored Linny Fowler and the people that she supported, the organizations that she supported, and then, of course, the local artists in our community who are doing amazing work.
And of course, she supported not just the arts community, but so many individuals throughout the community were touched by her generosity. And it's very hard to find a nonprofit in our community that has not benefited from her kindness and generosity.
Right, yeah. Her presence continues with all of these things.
Such a lasting impact that she's had on the Lehigh Valley.
Brittany, I really enjoyed your piece on Dr. Christine Oaklander.
Thank you so much. It was so fascinating going out with her and seeing these fabulous finds. And you can stay tuned because she'll have a series on PBS 39 where you can learn more about what she does to find and discover this art.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Grover. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Until then, remember to focus on what matters.